멈춘 시간 속 잠든 너를 찾아가 아무리 막아도 결국 너의 곁인 걸 결국엔 여행을 걸렸네 이젠 돌아가 너라는 집으로 지금 다시 way back home.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to another one of my videos. In today's video, I want to tell you guys about my bath experience, particularly experiencing the Roman ruins of a bathhouse. Very briefly, my outfit of the day. This is what I did wear to Matthew's 31st birthday celebration at the Ivy. In 2021, I attended a debate competition with the Exeter Debate Society, and this was held on Bath's campus. For those of you who are not familiar with the UK, Bath is, I believe, neighbouring Devon in terms of the proximity between the two counties. So the county is Somerset, but the city itself is Bath. And there are obviously Roman ruins of bathhouses all over the world. I have heard there are a couple in the Middle East. You know, the Roman Empire was quite expansive. But this is, I would say, a relatively popular one in the UK because of the way that the city itself took its name from the Roman bathhouse, meaning Bath. And it is a UNESCO heritage site, which is something that I discovered only on going there. And I thought that was very interesting. So moving on to my actual experience. Bath is a very, very common staycation and local tourism destination within the UK. So I would say that I had quite a challenge in finding a place to stay. I would actually say that it was amplified by that weekend. There was actually, I believe, a regional rugby tournament in Bath. Just a quick side note, there is perhaps a, I guess, county specific or central county rugby pitch that's actually on the Avon river itself. The Avon River cannot be described. It's beautiful. Bath as a whole has a very similar sort of vibe to Paris, if I had to make a comparison, not only in terms of the architecture but also just in terms of the feeling you get when you are in Bath. Kind of has a romantic vibe. So there was a huge, I guess, regional, or not to bring Harry Potter into this, but it's not at all an exaggeration when the film and the books sort of played on this idea of different cups, right? There is actually a regional, meaning south, a southern debate tournament called the Severen Cup, where all of the universities in the south actually come together and compete for this particular trophy. So there was a tournament going on in Bath, which made it almost impossible for me to find somewhere to stay downtown Bath. So this is where the story gets interesting, and for me it was actually a pretty scary thing to recount, but I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna reopen that memory for the sake of this video. Might be a great time to like and subscribe. So as always in the south, it actually rained cat and dogs unexpectedly. I had spent 3 hours flat ironing my hair and it went straight back to this. So I'm sort of repeating an outfit in a lot of ways, even down to the hair. So that day my dress did not work, or my romper, my hair did not work. At least we got our reservation, and they did sing happy birthday for Matthew and all of that. So I ended up having to stay in a small town. I think it was called Middlesbrough or Middle something, Middlefield, Middleville. I can't even remember at this given moment, which was 45 minutes by car from Bath, and even further, maybe closer to an hour or an hour and a half from Bath University itself. So when I got to this place, I can tell you it was straight out of a movie. There was a raging storm, and when I say raging, I do mean raging. I mean high winds, freezing temperatures, bullets like rain. It was awful weather, as in the visibility in front of a car, it was challenging. So I ended up staying at literally in somebody's attic. It wasn't entirely the inn or the lodge or the whatever you want to call that. It was not entirely in this person's attic. They had actually built an annex where there were separate sort of other rooms, but I ended up staying in somebody's attic for maybe 40 or 50 pounds. Not really such a bad rate. And the room was a decent size, very huge, queen sized comfy bed, a small bathroom with a toilet and a shower. They did give you tea and coffee in the room itself, and a big mirror where I was able to make sure I could at least look like I had not walked through almost a hurricane to get to this debate tournament. But so I practically ended up in a house that had been converted to an inn, and I had the most amazing burger of my life. I'm not sure if it was because of the rain that was terrible that this burger was incredible, but it really, really felt, I want to say, fresh for some reason. It was, I can't describe how fresh it tasted, but typical sort of, I guess, continental snack, a burger with fries. But the fries were fresh, and the burger was hot and fresh and very tasty. And I remember after 45 minutes of being in a taxi, at the end of which I was told he did not accept credit card, I got to this house. I don't really think I had seen pictures of it as a house. I think it was on bookings.com. But at this place, there was this sign, and it had been named after perhaps a privateer or a duke or something of that that nature. And I remember asking the owner of the hotel, who was probably just a guy who converted his home into a inn or whatever. I asked him, where did you guys get that name from? Is he from here, like the duke or the privateer or whatever it was? And he said, all I can say is that if this is the name of the place, he has probably come here at some point. So when you enter this house, you immediately walk into the bar, as in the check-in counter is also furnished with taps of beer, right? And they check your reservation, and they give you a key, as in not a card, not a chip, but a key, right? And I had to go up this winding staircase to this room where I would be staying in the middle of a storm. But I just remember sort of feeling the English small city spirit during that experience, because the taxi driver did not accept card, and there was like nobody in the actual town with an ATM, and they actually had to like take me to the other side of town. Bless those people. And one person in an entire small town had an ATM, and by this point the taxi driver is waiting there for like half an hour for his fare. And this lady, she opens up and she lets me withdraw money, and I'm able to actually pay the taxi driver. But I saw an interesting side of English small country life. Like, it was kind of like the lady took me to like a shop down the road, and they were like, do you have an ATM? And this person was like, no. And then we went somewhere else, and they were like, do you have an ATM? And they were like, no. And we just kept going and going and going. And I really saw the effort and the spirit of people in small English towns to actually be helpful to even, a person of color, but also an outsider. And I did eventually get my fare, and I was able to pay the taxi driver. End of story, not even close. So before that, I realized that there was only one bus, because the taxi was quite costly to go all the way to wherever I was. And I realized, in terms of cash, I only have enough cash for, let's say, a bus ticket at that point. And the tournament started at maybe 7 a.m. So I would not have had the time or the assurance that there would be taxis running in a small town the next day to get me to the tournament on time. So I once again saw the hospitality of English small town people. And the same sort of thing happened, where I was like, look, I'm in town for a tournament. I need to get to Bath University. I don't have enough money to pay an Uber tomorrow, or Uber is not running before 7 a.m. all the way out here. So can you guys please get me a bus schedule in the middle of a storm? And the same sort of chain reaction and networking happened, where the owner of the hotel spent almost 45 minutes calling every single person he thought would know in the town for a bus schedule to get me on a bus at 5:30. It had to be at 5:30 to get to Bath University for 7 a.m. So that took well over a couple hours, but they really, really made the effort to do it. And I can't knock the actual facilities or the inn itself, but the storm was horrific. When I say horrific, I truly mean horrific, as in windows shut, heating on, I'm freezing, and the wind is whistling through the room as though the windows are wide open. So you can imagine I probably got like an hour of sleep, which in the end worked out, because I am not the 5 a.m. sort of person. But, the weather conditions kept me wide awake. And all the way up until 5:30 the next day. So there was at least a consolation in all of this. I had a choice between nighting over after the tournament and taking an early morning train from Exeter to Bath, or arriving a day early and leaving after the tournament. And I opted for the second version of the trip, in contrast to my actual peers who opted to all take an early morning train. There was a tree across the tracks. They arrived within minutes of the tournament. It was a whole thing, and I foresaw that. So I made sure and I got all the way up to Bath the day before. And I instead used the time from when the train arrived at Bath Spa Station to when my reservation started at like 5-6 p.m. to actually explore Bath, the city. I didn't have a load of time. I had maybe 4 hours, but I really made the best out of those 4 hours.